my appreciated attorney, Cindy Zimmer, for her leadership and for her commitment to the safety of our families here in Kern County, no matter how difficult the case. We also would not be here without the teamwork and support of the district attorney staff. They provided invaluable support to our investigators, a perspective and advice and counsel along the way. And again, we would not be here without that support as well. And the last thing I would say is this is not a resolution in this case. And there will not be a resolution completely in this case until these boys are brought home.
Thank you, Chief Terry. Chief Walker, would you like to address the audience?
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Let me emphasize, first and foremost, this is a tragedy, an absolute tragedy. It was reported in my city that 2 small boys could be killed by their parents. But I do have to say how proud I am of my department from the second we got the call until we brought in so many resources, and we're very grateful for that. But the second we got the call, we were on scene. We began to work it and look for these kids. And we had so many agencies involved, Kern County Sheriffs, the Search and Rescue, CHP came with their helicopter to help us. But the citizens of Cal City came out in numbers to look for these kids. And it began to grow to the outlying communities and eventually across the nation. We were getting people who were interested and they wanted to know where these kids were as well as us. And then eventually Chief Terry and the Bakersfield PD came in to help us out, and they've been instrumental to make this happen. So I want to thank all those people again for helping us to try to come to some kind of resolution with this. But again, the bottom line is we have 2 small boys that we believe are no longer here that are dead, and that's terrible. But again, I want to thank the District Attorney, Cindy Zimmer, for being brave and diligent to push this forward and actually bring this case to the surface. So we will push forward. We haven't given up, and we'll continue to give them any kind of help that they would need in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Walker. While the defendants in this case, Trezell and Jacqueline West, are presumed innocent, the securing of a grand jury indictment is a major step in ensuring that there will be justice for Oran and Orison. This case has tugged at the heartstrings of people in my office and in law enforcement and in this community. It is a horrific tragedy that these precious little boys had to lose their lives. But I want to thank everyone who was involved in this case, the law enforcement officers. It must have been so difficult for them, who searched for Oran and Orison, the community members that came out and helped search, and then the community members that just continue to care about what happened to them. So if you have any questions, those are the end of my comments, but keep in mind there are ethical restraints as far as what we can talk about prior to the trial in this case.
Well, let me try something.
Thank you. I think he had his hand up first.
Thank you, District Attorney. How can we confirm that the boys had died 3 months prior to their reported disappearance if bodies haven't been found? Can you kind of explain how that works?
No, I cannot, but I can tell you the facts in court will show that we were able to prove that to the grand jury, that the boys have died, that they were murdered. And we did that through a combination of direct and circumstantial evidence. And the grand jury was convinced that they were dead. Thank you.
Given that you say that they died 3 months before this was reported, and that the fact that Trezell and Jacqueline lived in Bakersfield and then moved to California City, Chief Walker, do you believe, can anybody say whether Oran and Orison were ever in California City to begin with?
Mr. Gaspar, that's a good question, and that's something we're going to answer during the trial.
Can't say more than that.
We cannot go into the facts of the case.
As far as trying a case with everybody, because since I assume you don't know where the boys are. Is that right?
We don't know where their bodies are. That's what I said.
Okay. So you don't know where the bodies are. What will that present kind of a difficulty in trying this case without a body? Public out there has, at least some that I've run into, say, well, they can't try somebody without a body. How are they going to do that?
As I explained in my earlier statements, no body homicides are tried all the time. And we have evidence that was sufficient to convince the grand jury, and we have sufficient evidence that we believe will convince a jury that they are not alive. And we have evidence.
Have you tried a case here without a body before in Kern County?
Yes, we have tried to successfully, at least that I know off the top of my head. I have those names, the Leonard Bryce Thomas case and the Daniel Rhodes case, successful murder convictions. And there may be more, but those are two that I can remember. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about why second-degree murder in this case rather than first?
No, I cannot. I can't really discuss the theory of liability in the case because that would involve the facts.
Okay. And then also, I'm so sorry, one more question. Can you talk a little bit about why you guys decided to go down the grand jury route and attain that rather than the average procedure?
We try, I've done over 20 grand jury indictments myself throughout my career. It is something that we commonly do on homicide cases, which involve calling live witnesses. And also sometimes we do it because there has to be a little bit of starting and stopping regarding scheduling. A preliminary hearing is continuous. You don't have start and stops. And at a grand jury hearing, you can do 2 days of testimony, 1 week, so there are a variety of reasons that we considered in this case. And a lot of, if you look back on some of our high profile homicide cases, most of them did go to grand jury. Yes.
We have unconfirmed reports that a white RV was pulled over by law enforcement yesterday at Highway 43 and Highway 58. And some were saying this was possibly where Trizell and Jacqueline were taken into custody. Are you able to confirm that? And also near Potomac Avenue, the neighborhood where Trizell and Jacqueline have been living with his parents after they moved back from California City, there was a helicopter with a searchlight going over around, I want to say 7, 8 o'clock last night. Can you confirm that that was looking for Trizell and Jacqueline?
The defendants, Trizell and Jacqueline West, were taken into custody last night around 7 p.m. by the Bakersfield Police Department in Western Kern County.
How did that happen? How did you find out that the Winnebago that was there? We had spotted it earlier in the day in Edison, and then it was the same Winnebago that you guys found yesterday. How can you say what tipped you off that the Winnebago was there at Enos Lane and Highway 58?
No. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What does this say about like the vetting and background process for adopting parents here in Kern County?
Ma'am, it's not the job of the district attorney to talk about those types of things. It's the job of the district attorney to look and see if a crime was committed and bring those guilty parties to justice. Yes.
Are the defendants cooperating and have they admitted to any wrongdoing?
I can't discuss, that is absolutely prohibited, any type of statements by the ethical canons that attorneys are required to follow. I won't comment on the evidence specifically. I won't comment on statements. Yes.
Are these the only arrests that are going to be taking place in this case? Is there plans to bring in anybody else or to arrest anybody else involved in this?
If I had those plans, I probably wouldn't tell you, but I can't tell you anyway. It's a good question. I don't mean to be trite, but I'm not going to comment on that. Yes.
I'm sorry, I do
Go
have
ahead.
one more. We do know that Orison and Oran were 2 of 4 adopted kids. They also had another 2 biological kids. Any idea of the whereabouts of the other 2 adopted kids and the biological kids as well? And were there any signs or prior signs of prior abuse in the household with the other 4 kids?
I'm not able to discuss that, but it's not like the other 4 are missing. They are in the care and custody of the Child Protective Services. Yes.
Were Trizell and Jacqueline West under surveillance for a considerable amount of time before he made an arrest?
I cannot answer that. I mean, I know, but I shouldn't be answering that. Yes.
have you spoken to the biological parents of Oran and Orison since you learned of this news? And if so, what was their reaction to this finding?
Well, Mr. Smith has had contact with some of the biological family in this case, and I would have to defer to him about that. Our office, grand jury proceedings are secret. They are confidential. They are not to be revealed until after an arrest is made in this case, and in any case. So we will, now that there has been an arrest made, we'll be able to talk to the family of the victims more so. But even before that, we weren't able to really go into detail with them, although I can tell you we have had contact with the family.
Was it a unanimous vote with the grand jury to bring forth the indictment?
I don't think that's something that can ever be revealed. I think that's confidential information in the hands of the grand jury. I can tell you that there was sufficient number to do it, or it wouldn't have been a valid indictment. But whether it was unanimous or not unanimous, I don't know, because they don't tell us.
Can you say which legal counsel will represent the suspects?
They will be arraigned tomorrow in court, and if they cannot afford counsel, they will be appointed, or if they want to retain counsel, they can do that. So we don't know. We won't know in the criminal matter who their attorneys will be until tomorrow morning.
How do you guys plan to bring this news to the biological family? Obviously, you know, we're saying you guys have given confirmation that both boys are diseased as well, but there's no concrete evidence showing this. It sort of feels what's been going on for almost the past year, where the family and the community has sort of been left without any answers. And that constant question has been brought up, you know, where are the boys? And I mean, you're saying there's concrete or, you know, confirmation that they are deceased, but how would you guys?
It's called a jury trial, sir.
Okay.
That's where we will prove that they are deceased. And we have, and the grand jury has already found that they are deceased, and we have presented evidence that. As far as the news that went to the biological family, I think the news did that last night. I think you were out at the scene with biological family before we were even had the defendants in custody or had an opportunity to do this press statement today. So as far as news to the family, I think that I think they already know. Yes. And just a couple more questions, please.
Could you talk a little bit about the sentencing for the other two charges, the willful cruelty to the child? What's kind of the average for that as well?
Well, what that term carries is 6 years.
Okay.
Correct, Mr. Smith? 6 years.
And would that be changed because there's 2 counts of that, or for each defendant?
That's kind of a complicated sentencing question. You look to see at the conduct supporting the homicide charge, and you take what's called it's a determining sentencing, whether or not you get any more time on the child abuse cases counts if they're convicted on the murder. Kind of depends on the facts and circumstances.
Okay.
I have a question for the Chief John Walker. You did submit your resignation recently to the department to resign as chief of the California City Police Department. Can you give us a reason, you know, why you've decided to resign from the department, your plans, or so forth?
I think that really has no bearing on this, so, you know, I'd like to stick to the subject, but yes, it's, I've been there for 2 years, I've done my best, and it's time for me to move on.
Are there any more questions? One last question. Yes?
I know you can't say how the boys were murdered. I understand that. Can you say if you believe you know how it happened, though?
No, I can't say anything like that. We are prohibited from going into the facts of the case. And obviously, we know what the facts of the case are. I can't go into anything further than that. And we just invite you to cover the trial in which the facts will be produced. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for your excellent questions. I hope I was able to answer them to the extent that I could. You all have a very nice day.
Hi. Well, I mean, they said a lot, but not said a lot, basically. These two toddlers was missing, been missing, I can't remember how long now. Seems like a long time. Let me pull up how long they've been missing. I hate when I spelled the name wrong. I always choose that one. Let me see how long they've been missing. Oops. Okay. These boys has been missing from 2020. They've been missing. And the parents involved was Triselle and Jacqueline West. Let me see if I can get of their faces so you can see who they are. Triselle and Jacqueline West. They said that they had the boys out on the porch playing while they were inside wrapping presents, and then the boys disappeared. Apparently, the following day, they went on a trip with the children, and somebody had a CC camera across from where they were living, and you see 4 children, because I think they adopted 6 children, I think it was, and there was no 2-year-olds with them. So the 2-year-olds didn't go in the van with them, and there is a CCTV that is pertaining to that, which I will find it, so that everybody gets a clear understanding of how deep this case is. They might allow me to show it, they might not. Let me see how I can get an old one. If I can get an old one, then I can show it, then it'd be more straightforward. But I think because it's an investigation, they might not allow it. Okay, this was 1 and 2, 2021. Oh gosh, that one's not working. No, that one's not working. I have to take a YouTube one. Okay, so I'm gonna show you so you know exactly how big this story is.
17 follow-up file now. It has been 7 months to the day that 2 young boys from California City were reported missing, and the search for them continues. 4-year-old Orison and Oran West were reported missing December 21st. That is 212 days ago, and police have yet to find them. Bakersfield police are in charge of this investigation. If you have information that could lead investigators to these young boys, you are urged to contact the Secret Witness Hotline, where you can remain anonymous. That phone number, once again, 661-322-4040.
So the Triselle said that the boys was outside.
All right, Chief Walker, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. It's about a month now since 3-year-old.
Sorry, in the background, too much noise. So the Triselles were saying that how they let them play outside while they were wrapping presents and all that. But when people was searching for the children, because a 2-year-old cannot move very fast, they searched all through the desert, all through everywhere, and later on they came across like presents and stuff. A few bloggers was going around trying to find the toddlers, and when that failed, they ended up going to where I think Tressel was staying. So the bloggers was going to where he is and saying to him, you know, where are the children? Where are the children? Tressel didn't say nothing. He continued about his business as normal. The biological mother said she had a feeling that they had killed her children, and being that they was taken from her for whatever reason it was, she came to give him, I think, Christmas presents or something, because I think she had some kind of rights where she could meet the children. So when she went or she found out about the children was missing, she turned up in the place where, as you see, the Tressels was. So you need to put back up the picture. So they turned up to where the boys are missing, and then they got no answer pertaining to what had happened to the boys. So an investigation has been going on from then, from 2000, from 2020, I think, or before 2020, and there was no joy. So the fact that they arrested them and they're saying that they got them done for second degree murder, allegedly, well, apparently. So there is another investigation going on. I feel that they will go through court time. Hopefully they get time, because they seem very calculated couple. Body language, people was watching their body language, watching how he was holding his hand, so like this in this position, so he wasn't giving away himself. But so that's why I showed the press conference of this concerning these two toddlers. So right now, there's no remains of the toddlers right now. So if anything else come true, I will be putting it up to inform people who is following this story. It's quite a sad story, because there are only two. Orson, I forgot his name. Orson and Orson West. I think I said their names right. And which is Sincere and Classic. That was their real names in that the mother gave them, the biological mother. The family was very distraughted because they couldn't find out what had happened to the boys. When they asked the neighbors said they didn't know that there were 2-year-olds living there. So there is a whole lot around the story, but I will be running back videos to help will jog people's memories of this that happened to these young boys. So with that said, I am really gonna come off right now. Thank you, Big O, for coming through. And if they put up petitions or whatever, petitions will be up. I'm gonna put a little bit about the story underneath the video for those who doesn't know what's going on. Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna come off. Okay, all right. Have a good day, good afternoon. Thank you. Bye.